Morning, students, and welcome to week 2 of Drugs and Society Online. My goal is to, every Monday, have a recorded video for you all that highlights what is going on this week, and then also to notify you if there's any changes based on what happened in the seated classes. So you might see me stock some stuff throughout the week, maybe extra websites or things that the students found helpful in the seated courses so that you're not missing anything different for them. So in week 1, what we went over was chapter 1. So with that, just the difference between drug use, drug abuse, and then you had a graded assignment that was due on Sunday. So remember, you will have assignments due each week. Okay, so you have discussion board and then a written assignment based on chapter 1. So this week we are looking at chapter 2, which is drug use as a social problem. So it's going to give you those objectives here of what we're looking at, and then a summary. And each week, more than likely, there's going to be a URL or a video in there for you to watch that is correlated with the learning outcomes or with the textbook or something that I find interesting that goes with the topic. And then the biggest thing in week 2 is you're going to go ahead and pick that topic for your presentation. So you need to pick a substance. Remember that the substance is up here at the top part when we're talking about your substance abuse paper and your presentation. You can pick something different that's on that list except for marijuana. We're not doing any marijuana presentations, okay? So pick a different substance, pick one that's on there, and that's what you're going to work on for the whole semester. Let's look at assignment 2 really fast. So you're going to be looking at government responses, the Dawn system, really basic things that go with this chapter, looking at substance dependence as a disease. We talked a little bit about this in class this week about the DMS, which is a diagnosis. Most of the time what we call is substance abuse disorder or substance use disorder, SUD. It is hard to diagnose somebody with substance dependence as a disease. Some do, some won't, depending on what your philosophy of disease is. And looking at your book for chapter 2, we're going to be looking at toxicity, substance dependence, like we said. What is that? What does that even mean? And then the broad views of addiction, and then why we try to regulate drugs, okay? And what you'll learn in these chapters is pretty much everything is a drug. Everything is a substance. I talked a little bit in my last class, my seated class, about even sugar being considered a substance because it alters your mind a little bit. It's a stimulant for most. And so make sure that you're looking down through here. Toxicity is going to be a huge thing when we're talking about addiction. High toxicity levels will kill you, but a lot of people have to increase their dosage in order to continue to get those feelings of high or like drunkenness. They're going to have to drink more, and what happens is that toxicity level gets higher and higher and higher, and then eventually they're taking a lethal dose, okay? So make sure that you are reading about that, fatal drug overdoses with that toxicity. Things that we see is somebody that becomes sober and then goes back to using, and they go back to the original dose that they were using prior to sobriety, and it's an instant killer, especially with things like opioids Heroin, we see that, methamphetamines, anything that you can inject in you, those higher doses, they don't, they end up in a fatal state. And then it looks at, the broad views of addiction. This is a big deal. How does somebody get addicted? Why can somebody drink and somebody get addicted and the other person doesn't? Okay, so looking at those, there's theories about biology. There's a big theory out there that genetically from your father's side, that there's an enzyme in your liver that can increase your likelihood of becoming an alcoholic, that you have a higher chance based on your father's genetics of alcoholism. It also talks about addictive personalities, those people genetically that are more susceptible to addiction just based on their personality in general. We got family disorders. We know that a lot of things come down through our genetics, like mental health issues, bipolar disorder, things, schizophrenia. So, does that play a factor in the role of addiction? And then, of course, is drug addiction a disease? There are multiple organizations, scholars, medical doctors that are going to say, yeah, that addiction is actually classified as a disease. And then you will also see that there are some people and some scholars out there and people that work in this field that do not feel like it's a disease, that it was a choice, that they're choosing to be an addict. So that's one thing that you are just going to decipher for yourself in this course. And then the other thing that we talk about a lot is correlation. So if you've ever taken one of my classes for statistics, we talk a lot about correlation does not mean causation. So like the chicken before the egg theory, this chapter talks about, does drug use cause crime, or does crime cause drug use? There's a lot of theories out there. We know that there is a direct correlation between crime, criminal behavior, and drug use. Okay, so do they actually feed into each other? So if you are a drug addict, will you automatically become a criminal? If you are a criminal, does that mean that you automatically will use substances? That's something that your text really highlights. Is that correlation? But remember, correlation is not going to mean 100% causation. Okay, there are functioning humans out there that drink alcohol every single day and don't necessarily commit a crime. Okay, we do see street drugs increase criminality. Okay, petty theft, crimes of opportunity, things of that nature, trying to get enough money to support their drug habit, they go into criminal activity. And then, of course, why we try to regulate drugs. This is a big section. Policies, trying to get reduction of substances out there, and then just trying to combat that on the criminal justice side and the policy side. Chapter 2 is a big chapter. So when you're looking at this summary with toxicity, death investigation, substance use disorder, laws, and then your review questions here. So if you have any questions about this class or anything that's taught, just let me know. It's a basic, read the chapter, do the assignments, okay? And then each Monday I will go through what's due. Make sure that you are opening the substance abuse paper instructions, and then also looking at the APA student undergraduate paper. Okay, so if you have any questions, let me know, and I'll be glad to help.